Hello, it's Karmatos, and it's time for another Horus Heresy Legion survey, this time on the topic of Legendaries. This one was a commonly requested one, so here's the format I thought up for it. In the first part, I ask, how would you rate each Legendary, excluding Warlords, from each Legion on an ordinal scale where the options are amazing, average, and awful, relative to other Legendaries. When considering these, kind of keep in mind that amazing means an absolute have or stable for the Legion. Almost great in good in every deck. Average means it's okay, useful in many, but not necessarily every deck, so that's alright, it's good. Awful means it's not worth putting in almost any deck, or is in a desperate need of a buff or change. And then the last two questions are, which Legion do you think has the overall best set of Legendaries? And the part 3 is, which Legion has the overall worst set of Legendaries? So I suspect I know what's going to win this by a landslide. This is going to be a great thing to find out. I don't know, and we'll see as we get along here. So here's that format. We have the 5 legendaries for each, primary legion, and 7 to 10 for the neutrals, and then we just kind of click some options for each. So I think average for that, average for that. I think Malagurst is amazing. I pretty much use it in every deck. Same with Spiritual Spirit. And I'm not a huge fan of the Punisher. I never see it used. I would never use it unless I'm doing some kind of vehicle meme. It's too high a cost, too low a survival. Not great. I think Wrath's amazing. I think Argus Brond, when he works, is amazing, but usually dies and doesn't actually get off a double attack. I'll put him down as average. I think Armor of Mars is amazing. I think Gorefather's okay. And I think Varen, it's not his fault that he's awful, but because the troops for World Eaters are awful, he's awful. I think Hold at All Costs, when it goes off properly, is amazing, but otherwise, it's not necessarily the most useful in every deck. Doesn't even go off most of the time. I think Raylanor is amazing for its 6/4/7 shield and perfection. Maybe average, though, because you need to have a perfection-driven deck to really get use out of him. Pride is amazing, and I would use Eidolon also in just about every deck. And Subjugator Titan, I guess maybe average, on the verge of awful, just because it's 10 for a 10/10, shield at least with cleave 10. I'll give it average. It's kind of below average. It's hard. Not all of these are so obvious. I think Defense Maneuvers is average. I think the Captain there is useful in just about every single deck. It's 3 for a 3/4. That already is pretty swank. And then heal 2 when a troop dies. You play this just before a board wipe or something, you'll completely bounce back in the game. Captain Holgor, average, maybe awful. He's very dependent on adjacents. Ignis, 7/5/4, kind of average. And I think Martorian's Resolve, albeit a pretty good staple for just about every deck. All it does is kind of draw out a turn, and you do heal 5. Actually, I think every deck could use Resolve. I don't think there's a time where it's bad. That one's hard. Average, it's kind of niche. I would only use it for a vehicle meme, but it's useful enough for all the vehicle decks that could be used. Contrador is amazing. Brand is amazing, but situational, but I would still run it in every deck. I think Forgebreaker is awful. I preferred the old version. I think the new version is lackluster, and I think Golg is amazing. But maybe I have some Iron Warrior prejudice there. I'm actually going to go awful for Bronzy, and that's because there's only one deck where it's useful, and it's a pure trap deck. So it's very rare to be used. I think the new Pale is okay. I think Effort Squad's okay. I'm on the verge of amazing. I think the Instrument's amazing. And I think Score is pretty okay. His high cost kind of makes him a little more situational. If he was lower, he'd be amazing. But what he does is amazing. Alright, this is the one I think is going to walk away, because that's amazing. That's amazing. He's amazing unless they're a pure troop deck. But still, I think Curse is... I think they're all amazing. I think every Night Lord's Legendary is like a staple. There's no reason not to run any of them. And therefore, I think this is going to be our winner for best set. Thousand Suns. Penthu Dost he's good. He's still killable. I think Or is amazing, specifically because of the Anthema combo. So the Book of Magnus is eh. Belloc, yeah, he's okay. He's used as a pretty hard staple for Psyker finisher combos, but eh. And then I think Horned Raiment is probably the worst legendary right now in the game, in desperate need of a buff. The worst. I think Soar is amazing. I think Book is average. He's average. I think Architect is amazing, and I think he's good. I'd run him in just about every deck. I wouldn't call him amazing, though, compared 9 for 7/7 and draw 3, cost 2 less. It's on the verge. I'm gonna give it average, though. I think Alidal's amazing. I think Cathedral's average. Honestly, I don't think I'd run Bile in much of anything. That turn 6 for +1 and then Poisonous. That's pretty good. I haven't seen too much of it, but it seems solid. And I think he's solid. He's kind of high costing. I think the Demonettes are easy to kill. This one's a little bit of a longer survey, folks, so, you know. Maybe on the verge of amazing. Relentless Deal 2. Most people will spend 4 to deal 4 damage. After just a few turns, this is likely to deal over 4 damage to the enemy Warlord. I think Vargas is pretty solid. I think the Hammer is solid, and at least it's a shield 10/10, and I think this is better than the cleave 10, but 9 for Captain I think is amazing. I think that's pretty good. Surprisingly, this dies a lot somehow just through like destroy or other things. I think the weapons are kind of situational. You need a specific Salamander's Warlord, and I think he's kind of average. And let's see here. Yeah, I think the new Deliverance is pretty amazing. I think Coleman is just a great value for 3/6 heal draw. I think that's amazing. I think he is actually almost never used. Very situational. Really should see maybe a little more play. And I think the new Nex is average. I would have put him as average before, and I think the buff is better than the old one. Let's see what we got next here. Amazing, 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 and average. I'm not quite willing to put this under awful, because I think it's better than most of the high-cost legendaries that a lot of legions have, but it's still pretty good. This would be my second choice for like best of. Legio Custodes, amazing, amazing. Tribune is average. It dies almost every time before it can go off. The 8 tank is pretty amazing. I would almost run it in every deck, and Benedict is also pretty good. Benediction. 9 for heal 5, and next thing costs 0. Especially if you run the right curve. It's a little situational. He's 4/4/4/5. He's average just on that alone. I think the Mantle of Ultramar is... I might verge on awful. Things pop so quick in this, and using up a whole turn for something that's not even going to necessarily get you value. Like, if I put the Bile weapon at awful, this has to be awful. I think the Captain is a staple for almost every deck. When can you not want any of those options in a 6 for 5/5? Any of these 7/7 damages are amazing. And I think Stalak is amazing. I think... yeah, being able to destroy a random troop instantly when you're behind, you will just win the game with this. You should run it in every deck you can. I think Pirate Raid is awful. I think it was better when Nerat stole cards from the enemy deck, but I just think... yeah. I think Nev is amazing and should be in every deck. Oath is average. Pyro. No. That is pretty amazing. I would find it hard to not want to run that or him. 9 for the 9/9 Survivor 3 or 7 for the Survivor 5. I think I like Tyro better than Dantiak. It's cheaper. It's got essentially a 9/8 almost as soon as it's your turn again. I'll leave it at that. I think the Blade is pretty good. I think MNF is better. There are a lot of decks I wouldn't run this in for EA, so... I think he's pretty good. I think even after the nerf, that if I had swing the guard, I would run him in every deck. Crimson Spectre, deal 4 all. I think it's average relative to the other damage alls, and I think this was a big bonus. If Jovial didn't get the buff yesterday, it would have gone under awful. Now at least it's a random Blood Angels every turn, and yeah. Your Warlord, I'm not going to be a great input on this. I still have to get around to actually playing White Scars. I assume that Skilled Rider is amazing with the Primarch and maybe a little average with everybody else, so I'm going to assume it's average. At the end of your turn, create a copy of a tactic in the enemy hand and add it to your hand. Yeah, actually, that's really nice in the sense that you get to peek into what they have, and it's more common that people have some tactics than no tactics, as opposed to the inverse. So that looks pretty amazing to me. You get insight into their hand, and it's like a Jubok. So, and I'm going to put Jubok at amazing, so you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong here. Give your Warlord +2/+0 during your turn. That sounds pretty amazing, but it's... Oh, it's a tactic, I see. Again, sounds great with the Primarch, but not necessarily the greatest thing with everybody. And for 5, it's a little rough. It's actually a better version in some ways than the old Iron Warrior. Oh, let's see, deal damage. That's good on its own. Deal 5 damage, return this troop to your hand. Destroy damage to enemy troop. That sounds really good, but I can't claim it's amazing yet. So I'm going to put most of these at average until I see a little more performance. Remembrance Order. I think that's amazing. I see lots of people run it very successfully. Duke is on the verge of amazing. I'm going to put him at average. 5 for 4/7 bounce. Edict of Censure is amazing for what it does. It's like a situational staple. Manifest Destiny seems to be a big staple. Mount Pharos can get bounced. Ornithop's Barge is pretty amazing, but there's a lot of low troop decks. I think Shipmaster, I never see it, and I almost never see Zuriel's Storm. I'm gonna go awful there, and would I consider this worse than the average legendary? I think I would. The lower the curve, the better it seems, in my opinion. Yeah, Malgator. I think that's average. I think you're average. I like it. It's a little situational, though. I'm tempted to put Zeth at amazing. It's good, but I wouldn't put it in every deck. I would call it above average, but average. Lucas is not quite terrible. Nashrex, I might put as awful. It's 10. It's hard to stay alive with only 3. It can be bounced. It can be insta-destroyed. It can be a lot of things. If you get it off, it's amazing, but I've never thought like, yeah, I'm going to put this in a deck unless I'm making a extreme meme. And honestly, Lucas is almost there too. Anyway, Command Bridge, yeah, it's almost amazing, but I call it average. It's situational. I think Equitrez can go well in every deck. I think Anthema has specific niches. Pyramid of Meme is okay. That bird is okay. I think Abyssa is only good in Shadrach, and even then it's hard. I think that bird is awful. I think Yuria is amazing and is good in just about every deck. I think Farther Decay is... It's okay. As a Slayer of Worlds. Slayer of Worlds is better than Farther Decay. I might even put Farther Decay at awful, because it costs 9. 9 is an awkward energy where you can't do anything next. And then on the next turn, the best thing you can do is resurrect 3 random troops, unless you're Ingathel or something, or Word Bearers, and you've negated that maintenance cost. I mean, you do get the pound for 6. I'll leave it there. Okay. Which Legion has the overall best? Night Lords. I'm sorry, folks. That's going to be the winner. It doesn't matter. There's some others that are good contenders. Maybe OOW or Orphans of War. Maybe Space Wolves if you really like Corpse Swan. This one's going to be harder. You know, just looking at how I voted, who did I give the most awfuls and averages to? Might be Death Guard. Salamanders is pretty meh. You know, actually, Runestorm. Their legendaries are not super... I actually gave Amazings, I think. Because I do really like Resolve. Every time I've ever seen it played, it's been a good turn for that player. If you can get out to 8, which if you're Death Guard, you can. You know? I think Salamanders might be the most situational lackluster. Man, this is hard. I suspect we're going to get a lot of differing votes. You know, Chaos overall, actually. There's a lot of demons that just aren't that great. Given that there's this many, Uria and Ecritrez are the only two like hard staples for me. Maybe Command Bridge. Might actually go Chaos. There's so many dud demons that is an overall set of legendaries when you pick a... Yeah, and Pyramid and Bolt the Birds, Abyssa. We're going to go with that. So that's an example of how to fill out the survey. You can always go back and edit your response so long as you're accessing from the same machine, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah. Anyway, if you like this survey, like it, I know it's a little, or like this video, I know it's a little longer than the usual survey. I'm going to try to make the next one a lot shorter, but there's a lot of details here, and the responses are already coming in, and I'm starting to see a lot of neat patterns of data that I didn't expect, and it's going to be actually a really fun reveal, this one. You know, big data, big reveal. If you like this, like it. If you want to see more surveys like this, subscribe. Share this with your friends. Share the survey. The more survey responses, the better. I'll probably cut it off again around 5 to 7 days, or when the responses really trickle in. This was Karmatos. Thanks for watching, and Karmatos loves you.